Tonight, we are visiting a state that's called the Sunflower State, the heart of the heartland, and that's the state of Kansas. Most people see Kansas as a beautiful, golden blur at 70 miles per hour, a land of neon sunsets, rolling tallgrass prairies, and a horizon that never ends. It's a place of quiet majesty and wide-open spaces. But there's a reason they say the wind never stops moving out here. A place this open, this exposed, would have nowhere to hide its secrets. You'd think that with miles of visibility in every direction, nothing could stay buried for long. Beneath that cinematic beauty, Kansas has secrets that have been sitting in plain sight for over 100 years. Beyond the wheat fields lie places the locals whisper about. A cemetery so cursed that a pope reportedly rerouted his plane just to avoid the air above it. A quiet house where a little girl's spirit masks something far more ancient. And a lonely bridge where a mother's grief has turned into something violent, something that reaches out from the dark to pull you toward the water. Kansas is an open and flat state where there is nowhere to run when the darkness finally finds you. Welcome back to my channel, where we are on a journey to discover the top 3 most haunted and scary places from all 50 states. Tonight, we are going to the Sunflower State of Kansas. These are the top 3 most haunted places in Kansas, where the wind is already up and waiting for our arrival. Stull Cemetery, the gateway to hell. There's a list that has been passed around in secret for decades, among occult researchers, paranormal investigators, and those who study things better left alone. It's a list of places on this earth where the veil between our world and whatever lies beneath it is gone. These aren't places where darkness just visits. They are places where darkness lives. Researchers disagree on a lot of things, but on almost every version of that list, one name appears consistently. Stull, Kansas, a town that barely exists, a population of fewer than 20 people, and a reputation as one of the most supernaturally charged locations on the face of the planet. The ruins of a legend. Back in the mid-1800s, it was just a farming settlement called Deer Creek. It had a post office, a store, and a stone church. But as the people left, something else moved in. By 1974, the legends hit the mainstream. A University of Kansas article claimed this cemetery was one of only 2 places on Earth where the devil himself appears in person. The locals didn't just tell stories of ghosts. They told stories of a gateway. The old stone church was the heart of these legends. Witnesses swore that even during a torrential downpour, the inside of that roofless, crumbling church stayed bone dry. But it's what was under the church that people feared. They spoke of a hidden staircase, a descent into the earth that led somewhere no living soul should ever follow. Some say it was physical. Others say it only appeared to those the darkness wanted to claim. But everyone who saw it said the same thing. It felt like the mouth of a trap. In 1995, Pope John Paul II was flying across the United States. The story goes that his flight path was set to take him directly over this tiny patch of Kansas ground. But at the last minute, his representatives made a specific request to reroute the plane. The Vatican has never confirmed, but they've never denied it. In 2002, the owner of the land had enough. The vandals, the rituals, the chaos, it had to end. He brought in the bulldozers and leveled the ruins of the church to the ground. The paranormal community waited. They thought the energy would disappear and that the door would close, but it didn't. The church is gone, but the dread remains. Visitors still feel that weight on their chest before they even reach the gate. They still see figures moving between the headstones in the corner of their eye. The building was just a shell. The ground itself is what's hungry. A photographer went to Stull. She was alone, and it was broad daylight. As she stepped out of her car to take a photo, she didn't hear a sound, but she felt a hand. A firm, deliberate push against her chest. Like she was being warned not to take another step. She decided to take her photos from inside the car. When she developed the film, there were shapes standing between the headstones that weren't there when she clicked the shutter. Groups of students who jumped that fence find themselves paralyzed by a terror they can't explain, a sudden, crushing certainty that they are being hunted. The church is gone and the town is gone, but the door is still wide open. The Sallie House, the child who isn't a child. Not all hauntings are created equal. Some locations are just sad, and they hold a heavy, quiet grief that makes you want to whisper. Others are mischievous, the kind of place where things move when your back is turned. But then there are the hostile hauntings, the ones that don't just want to be seen. They want to hurt you. The Sallie House in Atchison, Kansas is exactly the kind of place. What makes it legendary isn't just the story, it's the evidence. The photographs, the burn marks, the video of a grown man being scratched by hands that aren't there. From the outside, it's a simple two-story home on Seton Street. The kind of house you'd walk past 1,000 times without looking up. The legend centers on a 6-year-old girl named Sallie. The story goes that in the early 1900s, a doctor performed an emergency surgery on her in this house. He started the procedure before the anesthesia took hold, and Sallie woke up in agony. She died on that table, terrified and screaming. For a long time, people thought she was just a lonely, sad spirit, but they were wrong. In 1993, Tony and Deborah Herman moved in. The haunting Tony and Deborah experienced started small. Flickering lights, toys moving on their own. The family dog refusing to cross the threshold of certain rooms and barking at empty air. Then it turned violent. Tony started waking up with deep, parallel scratches on his back, marks he couldn't possibly reach himself. While standing in his own kitchen, he felt his shirt being pulled up and watched in real time as red welts carved themselves across his stomach. Deborah photographed everything. Physicians and investigators looked at the marks and noticed they weren't self-inflicted. Tony was being hunted in his own home. But here's the most unsettling part of the Sallie House. Paranormal investigators who have spent years in these rooms believe that Sallie, the little girl, is real. But she isn't the one attacking people. Investigators believe a darker, older, and far more malevolent entity uses the image of the child as a lure. It presents itself as a sad little girl to lower your guard, to draw you in, and to make you feel safe. And once you're comfortable, once you've stayed too long, the thing behind the mask comes out to play. The Hermans eventually fled the house, but the activity never stopped. Teams today still capture every piece of a child's voice. Sometimes she laughs, but sometimes she whispers a warning. Get out before the other one notices you. Spontaneous fires have broken out during investigations with no ignition source. Equipment fails the moment you step into the upstairs bedroom. The Sallie House is open for overnight stays. People book it every week because they want to see the ghost girl. Some of them leave with scratches. Some of them leave with something following them. But when they hear that child's laughter in the dark, they don't realize until it's too late that the child was never the one they should have been afraid of. Theorosa Bridge, the mother who never stopped searching. Some hauntings don't belong to a house or a graveyard. They belong to a specific patch of earth. Places where something happened that was so fundamentally wrong that the land itself is haunted. Outside Valley Center, Kansas, there's a place called Theorosa Bridge. And at its heart is the most primal, devastating grief a human being can experience. The legend of Theorosa has been whispered in Kansas for over 100 years. The details change, but the core is always the same. There are several versions of this story. First version is that she was a pioneer mother in the 1800s who lost her infant to the rushing waters of the creek during a crossing. She spent the rest of her life wandering the banks, searching for a baby she'd never find. In another version, the child was stolen, taken by the brutal cruelties of the frontier. But the most darkest version, they say, Theorosa was driven to madness and drowned the child herself. For over a century, people at this bridge have encountered something that fits the shape of every one of those stories. Some people report hearing a woman's voice, screaming, sobbing, calling out from the darkness beneath the bridge. It's a sound described as unbearable. It doesn't make you want to run, it makes you want to help. But that is the trap. People see her as well. A pale figure in outdated clothing, crossing the road in the glow of headlights or standing at the water's edge, and she never looks at you. She just walks, and then she is gone. But Theorosa Bridge is famous for something much worse than sightings. It's the physical contact. Across decades, witnesses have reported being grabbed, not a light tap on the shoulder, but a violent, deliberate grip. In 2015, a boy was leaning over the railing when he was suddenly jerked backward so hard he hit the deck of the bridge. His friends watched it happen, but there was no one behind him when it happened. When he got home, he had purple bruises of human hands marks on his shoulders. But the most terrifying phenomenon isn't being pushed away. It's being pulled in. Witnesses describe a gravitational, almost magnetic force drawing them toward the water. It's a physical sensation, like the creek is calling your body to the edge. One man who visited in 2020 described walking toward the railing as if he were in a trance. He had to grip the iron bars just to keep from going over. The feeling only stopped when he whispered into the dark, "I'm sorry about your baby." Only then did the bridge let go. The locals in Valley Center don't test the bridge. They don't go there after dark. Not because they're superstitious, but because they know too many skeptics who went there and came back as a different person. Theorosa Bridge is still there. The crying still starts when the sun goes down, and the pull is strongest when you are alone. If you find yourself on that bridge tonight, and you feel two hands close around your shoulders from behind, do not let go of the railing. And whatever you do, don't look down. Three places, one state that stretches flat and seemingly harmless under the enormous Kansas sky. Three stories that prove that sometimes the most dangerous things have nowhere to hide. Stull Cemetery, where a pope rerouted his plane, where a church was demolished and the darkness stayed anyway, and where on certain nights of the year something arrives that was never supposed to be on this side of any door. The Sallie House, where a child's spirit is real and present and sweet, and where the thing standing behind her in the dark is none of those things. And Theorosa Bridge, where a mother's grief became something physical, something that grabs, something that pulls toward the water, and where the only thing that made it stop was three words spoken into the dark. Kansas is wide open and full of stories that has nowhere to hide them. If you've been to Stull, to the Sallie House, to Theorosa's Bridge, if you felt the push or heard the crying, or come home with marks you can't explain, please share your stories or experience if you've been to any of these places. Please subscribe and stay close, because next video we're heading somewhere new. Another state, another set of stories that the land refuses to let go of. Until then, wherever you are tonight, stay safe. And if you find yourself on a lonely bridge in Kansas, don't lean over the railing. She's still down there, still searching.